I don't know, whenever Tupac was murdered, it really was like Black Elvis. Like, we couldn't accept it. We were like, no, he went to Cuba because they was looking for him. Not likely, all right. But we never did that with Biggie. You notice that? Tupac and Biggie got shot within months of each other. And Tupac were like, no, he gonna come back one day. And Biggie, we were like, yeah, that checks out. That's wild. I can't help but think it's because Biggie was heavy. I think deep down we know if it wasn't the bullets, it would have been butter. You know what I mean? Like, Biggie was not long for this. It was gonna be the streets or the kitchen. One of them was coming for Biggie. You know? I don't know if y'all remember this, but back in the day, before the pandemic, they were talking about putting Harriet Tubman on like the 20 or something. I don't even remember what bill it was. And it was like, everyone had an opinion immediately. There were people who thought it was great. There were people who didn't care, a little bit, and then it turns out they cared. And then there were people that were like, no, we can't have this happen. And then Mnuchin said he'd block it, and he did, so it never happened. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I need Harriet on the 20. What bothers me the most is how has Harriet Tubman not had her own sneaker yet? Like, that seems... Yeah, I mean, think about it. Who is more deserving of a sneaker deal throughout all the history of America than Harriet Tubman? Come on. If you don't know who Harriet Tubman is, she was the LeBron of escaped slaves, okay? She was putting up numbers. She got a lot of other people to freedom. Buckets. That would have been a motherfucker to be a slave owner while Harriet was around. You come outside, ain't nobody there. You're like... The commercial writes itself. It does. I just beat the Golden State Warriors in my new Adidas Maxes. And it's like, oh, I ran to freedom. How about that? How do you beat that shoe? You don't. I do wonder, and this is a genuine question. I'm being sincere. This isn't like, I'm not going to make fun of you or anything. Does anyone here believe in aliens? Okay, so this is my thing. I believed in aliens so hard when I was little. Like, when I was a little kid, I was like, it's just us in the whole universe? Come on, really? Just us. A whole universe. That seems wild, right? And then as I get older, it's becoming harder for me to believe in aliens. Because, especially after everything up until 2023, it's hard to believe in aliens because Trump didn't mention it while he was president. Like, that man told every secret. Anything they told him, he told us in an hour. Like, they would be in the room with this man and be like, you're not gonna tell anybody, right? And he's like, no. And then he leaves the room, he's like, folks? Like, that was... He could not keep a secret at all. He had the leakiest White House of all time. And he never mentioned aliens, so now I'm like, maybe not. I don't know what to tell you. It's a tough one. For the people who believe in aliens, once again, I'm being sincere, I wonder if aliens haven't made broad daylight obvious contact with us because they think we're boring or because they've seen how we treat each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was an alien above Earth looking down all this time, I'd be like, oof, they don't even like when you have different skin. And I got 3 dicks, so they gonna kill me immediately, just out of jealousy if nothing else. God damn, might as well stay up here where it's safe. Ooh. I feel this is a weird thing. I respect that people have to be like choosy when they're dating, and sometimes you have to make choices based off, like you get a little inkling of a thing and you call it a red flag, or because you're like, I know how it's going to go after that. And sometimes people are overly harsh about that, but it's necessary, you know? Like I think about my friend, I went to a club with my buddy, and he had a full, like, almost rom-com experience. He saw this woman across the club, truly across the club. He was like, the light was just shining on her a little extra, you know? So then my man made his way over, and it was almost like the dance floor was parting as he was walking over to her. And then he gets up to her, he lays his thickest game on that he has. He's like, hey, how you doing? You know, mind if I buy you a drink or something? And she turns around and looks him up and down and goes, no. Nah, that's not what we doing. And he tries one more time. He's like, why can't I buy you a drink? Get to know you. We might like each other. And she looks him up and down again, and she goes, your shoes. Which I know, that sounds super vapid. That's wild. It sounds really materialistic, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm on her side. Because when he looked down, both his shoes were untied. And it's like, yeah, bro, how did you... There's no better way to walk up to a woman and be like, you have to take care of me eventually, than to have both your shoes untied when you approach the conversation. How'd you even make it over without tripping? It's crazy. Dude, one shoe could happen to anybody. Both shoes hasn't happened since the 3rd grade, all right? If you approach a woman with both your shoes untied, you might as well walk up with a glass of milk in one hand and a cookie in the other. Talking about, you want to be friends? Because that's what the fuck you look like with both your shoes untied. It's insane. I was watching a movie this week. Have you heard of Downfall? Anybody? Okay. It's a German movie, and it's about the last 10, 12 days of, like, Hitler and the Third Reich. It was like when they were losing the war, and it's from the account of the secretary that was in the bunker, of just, like, you know, Hitler was freaking out and everything. And it got me to thinking, like, how do you contend with the idea that there's a higher power while watching all of the horrible stuff that happened around the world in World War II? It's like the worst atrocities against humanity happen, but also there's supposed to be this higher power that's fully in control and everything. And people talk about if they could go back in time, they'd kill baby Hitler and stuff like that. You know? I'm like, all right, yeah. But if I was God, I think I would have just given Hitler a real high voice. Ain't nobody following him then. If that dude rock up and be like, listen to me. There's something happening in the fatherland that must be stopped. I don't even think you let that dude work fast food. You'd be like, nah, that voice too annoying. He's like, listen to me about the Jews. It's like, no, we caught you. I'll be vulnerable for a second. I thought I had it all figured out, you know. I was sexting. And sexting's a very precarious situation. You want to make sure you're sexting at the right time, you know? Because if it's like 8 o'clock, you still got other people texting you, you know? You don't want to accidentally send a text that's incoming to somebody because you opened the thing, you know what I mean? And it's also like, what if you're not that skilled? Like, what if I'm not good texting with just my left hand? Now you texting typos and stuff. It's knocking the sexy right out of your sexting. You know, it's like, I'm gonna fud your bass. It's like, nobody's into it now. You know? So I had an idea. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I didn't talk to anybody about it. I had never heard anybody doing this, but in my mind, it was the best thing to do. I was like, I'm just gonna speak to text. So that way I don't gotta worry about the other hand and everything, and I can just like get in the zone and stuff. I don't have to worry about other people texting me and everything. And it went horribly wrong. Because I wasn't at home. I was at my childhood home. So I was in my room, but it wasn't my house, you know? And it was, 9 o'clock or so, and we were sexted. And look, I'll read you the thing right now. This is what. Okay. All right. So she's like, "Oh, okay. And what's good? What would you do if you were here right now?" And then I was like, "Girl, I would tear those clothes off. And Mom, what are you doing in here?" Mom, I had the door closed. You can't just open the door. I was just coming to see if you wanted dinner. No, I'm okay. Mom, get out right now. Boy, how you gonna tell me to get out somewhere in my house? I'm sorry, Mom, please, can you please leave and close the door? You know we don't have closed doors in this house. Which is true, that's a very like black family thing of like you not closing the door in my house, what you up to in there? I was like, Mama, please leave, please, please leave. And she was like, all right, what's the big deal? I was like, nothing, Mom, just please get out of here. So anyway, girl, I would say... All right, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night.
Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I've struggled with an idea for a while, and it's how like everybody, this sounds so dumb, just hold on, give me a second. But it is crazy that everybody is a person. What I mean by that is when you're like a little kid and you just living your life, you know, you go to school and then you go home and then sometimes you play with your friends and sometimes you stay in and you watch cartoons. You know that you have a life. You know that you're a whole person, even if you don't have a full awareness of yourself. You know that you go to different places and you do different things. Even when you have a new experience, it doesn't even occur to you to be like, oh no, I don't do that. Because you're a kid just experiencing the world. But there are boxes that we put people in. I think it's completely unintentional. I don't think there's any malice behind it. But I remember the first time that I realized that someone who I definitely cared about and I definitely enjoyed their company and I definitely liked was a whole other person. I was a little kid. I was with my mom at the grocery store and we saw my teacher. And I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like, I said it out loud. I said it to her. Why aren't you at school? If you're here, then whose? It was a crazy thing in my head. My brain was breaking in that moment. I'm this little kid. I've only ever seen her at school. She's supposed to be at school. I shouldn't see her if I'm not at school. And she's over here buying groceries. I was like, you eat groceries? This is wild. And then she was over here having a conversation with my mom. They both ignored me asking why she wasn't at school. I still had questions. And then she, said she'd see us on Monday and walked away. And in my head, I was like, Monday? It's Saturday. She's not even gonna be at school tomorrow? Blew my mind that one of my favorite teachers had like a house. And like, I'd always heard about her husband, but I thought that's just something teachers say to like pass the time and stuff. She had a whole life. And it feels like a silly lesson to learn when you're a kid, and then you get older and you realize you have to keep relearning it over and over again because you meet more and more people and you've already boxed them in. And then they surprise you, and then you think, oh, I'm a little ashamed I was even surprised. I should know from when I was like 6 that people are like, everybody's a person. But it's an easy lesson to forget because you can only sometimes see a person in a certain way. Like my friend, I have a couple friends now who they've got drunk with their parents, and it's a boundary that some people never break with their parents. Sometimes their parents are like, oh, I'm gonna have a couple drinks, but I'm not gonna be drunk in front of my son. You know what I mean? And then there are people who will always have that thing of like, oh, I don't want to be drunk in front of my parent. You know what I mean? It's like weird. I feel like I'd be in trouble. It's like, well, you're 42. Yeah, but still. I don't know. I don't want my mom to see me drunk. It's like, well, she saw you at your worst as a baby. I guarantee you drunk just brings you like one step above baby. But it was an interesting thing. My friend said that he got had a couple drinks with his dad. Now his dad was a sort of interesting case because when he was a kid, I don't know all the details, but his dad drank. And then there was something, whether it was something that happened or just like a general attitude towards drinking. At one point, his dad was like, you know what? I'm just not going to drink anymore. And he went like cold turkey sober for years and years and years, right? So he drank pretty heavily when my buddy was a kid, didn't drink until he was long out of the house. And it wasn't until after my buddy graduated college that his dad would like drink once in a while, have a drink with him. And finally one day his dad was like drunk with him. And he noticed his dad like drunk. And he was like, it's crazy because I know my dad used to drink. And I can only see my dad as my dad. So knowing my dad is like an annoying drunk. I don't know. I guess I forgot he could be a whole person. Like, because his dad had this weird like rivalry with him when he was drunk. He, walk up to him, impromptu, off of nothing. They're in the backyard. And he's like, hey. Looking good, young man, looking strong, looking tough. I mean, you looking real strong. What? You think you're stronger than me? What? I mean, no. Do you think he's stronger than me? We should race. You want to race? And he knows that a foot race with his dad sober wouldn't even be a contest. So he's like, nah, Dad, I'm good. He's like, no, come on. If you're scared, say so. If you're scared, say so. If you're scared, the old man still got it. If you're scared, say so. said he made it into one of the most annoying songs he had ever heard in his life. Just until he would raise him, if you scared, say so. And finally, he's like, all right, look, we'll race, fine. And he thinks if he stands up, his dad might just forget, you know, because he's at that level of drunk where he's on a mission, but not a mission he has to complete. Y'all know that mission. This is one of my favorite missions to watch people have on like a night out. You know, especially with like, but one of my favorite side quests in any night out that a bunch of ladies are having is finding one of their phones. One phone will go missing, and it will be the biggest deal in the world for 12 minutes. And then the person whose phone is missing will be like, let's just dance. It's like, all right, but you should go get your phone though. Like, you do need to call an Uber at some point and get home. Like, we need your phone. It's like, yeah, but like later, like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't even care. It's like, this is my song. And then it resets, because then like several songs later, it'll be like, yeah, you look so good. I'm gonna take a picture of you. I'm gonna. Oh my God, everybody stop. Everybody stop. Not their friends, everybody in the club stop. Everybody stop. And so this dude stands up thinking like his dad's about to be over it anyway. And he's like, Dad, I really don't want to, like, we're having a good time. Like, let's just chill out. And his dad goes, no, race me. He's like, all right, fine, okay. So they line up. He's not really gonna race his dad. He's gonna like walk and let his dad win so he can feel good about being annoying for 15 minutes. But his dad stands up and he's ready. You ever see somebody look at a finish line like it's moving? Like, and then he said, all right, you ready? And they had already decided that his mom would say when to go. And so she said, go. And my buddy didn't even go. His dad took 3 steps and crashed into the patio table. And I don't know, yeah, it's gotta be tough. That's a moment that's like, you just know that now. You know your dad your whole life, and then now you're like, oh yeah, but like after the 5th Jameson, he will. You know. And that changes how you look at your dad a little bit, not even in the form of judgment, just like there's more information and you see him as like a whole person. You know good, you know bad, you know arguing with him, you know, and now you know this thing that you didn't really experience in the same way when you were a kid. Now you know. Even 4 Jamesons in, he's gonna go, no. Oh. Like I don't know if it's possible to remind yourself every time, every day, that a person is like a whole person. Because we are so distant. Person to person. Like when you meet someone that you've maybe heard about, you can only go off your impression. That impression is colored by whoever told you about this person. And it's hard to remember. I try to remind myself all the time that like, we're meeting this person. Nothing nice has been said. But I'm sure they have a dog. I don't know. Like some redeeming quality. You try to approach it like that. And, you know, I fail at it a lot. you know, sometimes I let, whether it's gossip or just like a preconceived notion, take over. And then you end up being friends with this person. And you feel even worse because you're like, ooh, I judged you so harshly when we met. You know, some of my best friends, when I met them, hated their guts. I hated because I was just like, oh, just look at his face. One of my best friends from college, when we met, us meeting was me asking him for a pencil and him going, what? And so I just turned back around. I was like, all right, jerk. Turns out he just didn't hear me. We're like really good friends now, but yeah, that was not a great way to start. One of my best friends, we had that same thing. So he's a big dude. He's like 6'4", 6'5", like a strong guy, wide guy, right? Big dude. And we were both friends with a different guy. This is freshman year of college. And we had both done things in front of each other that made us go like, I don't know if I like that guy. Like, I like our mutual friend, but I don't know if I like him. And then we kept being in scenarios where maybe we were waiting for our mutual friends and we were left alone with each other. And in my head, maybe it's because of where I come from, and maybe it's because I've never been the biggest guy in the room, but this is a big old dude and he doesn't seem like he liked me. So in my head, I was like, I just gotta act crazy. Like if I'm crazy, that'll keep at bay his size. Because even a big man doesn't want to get bit. You know what I mean? I don't care how big or strong you are. Once everybody saw what Mike Tyson did to Evander Holyfield, they were like, oh, yeah, crazy wins. Crazy will always win. I like my whole ear where it is. And then he noticed me being crazy. And so he was like, all right, I'm gonna have to flex how big I am. There was one time where we were waiting on our mutual friend because, forgot to mention earlier, our mutual friend was his roommate. So I had to be in their room a bunch before we actually got along. And I don't know, I saw him like eyeing me, and this is a college dorm room. So there's not a lot of space. So I'm like, this big guy's eyeing me. We're both waiting for our friend. So then I didn't know what to do. So I just started singing lyrics to Kanye West's 808 on a Heartbreak. No music. Impromptu. And lyrics I chose were, when I grab your neck, I touch your soul. And I just sang it to the wall, but loud enough for him to hear me. And I would later find out that when I did that, he was like, all right, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. In my entire life, I was trying to mug this dude into submission, but now he sang to the wall, not even facing anything. I don't know what he talking about. Why'd he sing it too? That's crazy. That's crazy as hell. It's so much crazier to sing than it is to scream. Like if you come across somebody on the street and they scream it, you're like, all right, that's regular. If they are singing lyrics you don't know exist yet, because the album had just come out, if they're singing lyrics you don't know exist yet, get away. And so he was like, I gotta do something. I've got to do something. And the thing that he decided to do was we both got a text from our mutual friend that it would be quicker for us to meet him where he was than wait for him to come back and us head out together. And so we decided to head out together. And while I'm in the hallway, it's a long hallway, from the door room to the end of the suite. And when I'm in the hallway, I go, ah. And he says, what? And I'm like, I think a mosquito bit me. And I was being completely sincere in this moment. I started itching. I was like, what? And he's like, what happened? I think a mosquito bit me. And then he stands extra tall, every bit of 6'5", lets his eyes dart around the hallway and goes, you hurt my friend! And then he punched the wall as hard as he could. And when he moved his fist from the wall, there was a dead mosquito. And I was like, oh Lord, he big and crazy. Oh, I'm sick. Oh. And then we became best friends. We became best friends because we got to know each other. We got to know each other, and I got to know him as a whole person. I got to know how cool he was, how sincere he is, that he would do anything for his friends, including that mosquito thing. And he got to know me. And he still liked me. So we became best friends because I got to see like the whole person, you know? And then finally one day I told him about it. I was like, hey, freshman year, because when we were juniors, we became roommates. And I told him, like, hey, I just want to get something off my chest. Freshman year, when I was in the room with you and I just started singing, I was just trying to be crazy because I thought, like, you were real big and, like, I don't know, I had been bullied a lot, so I was trying to, like, keep you at bay. And he was like, oh, that's so good to know. Which means in the time that we had become friends, he still thought, like, no, that's what he does, though. Like, that's who he is as a person. I was like, that's so good to know. Because, honestly, I was wondering what I'd have to do. I thought you were genuinely crazy. And that's why I punched that wall. When I moved my hand, I couldn't believe the mosquito had actually... It's wild stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's tough sometimes accepting that someone was like a whole person. Because it is easier. If someone sucks, it's easier to just, lean on exactly what you know, and that's enough for you, and they suck, and that's the end of it. It's not necessary in your mind to get down to the deeper root of the issue about why they might be the way they are. Whatever. They suck, and I'm done talking about them. Like when I think about some of the most powerful people in the world, I think that way all the time. I forget that it's like a whole person because they suck. They suck so much. Like, I do my best to not be closed-minded about people. But the more I learn, the worse it gets. And no person is just one thing. Even monsters. Some monsters that get true crime documentaries made about them. They'll interview the kids. And sometimes the kids will be like, yeah, actually, he was like a super present father and everything. Like, it was kind of crazy. I know he killed all those people, but he came to all my soccer games. Like, it's a lot to process. No? Like, I don't know what makes a person. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what makes a person the way that they are. I just have guesses. Sometimes my guesses are good, and I get to have a conversation with the person and see that I was kind of close. And then sometimes my guesses are totally off base because I don't have their mind. I can't act like I know why someone is the way that they are. I know for certain because of the people that I've been around. I know that sometimes when you grow up with real money, real privilege, it can be very difficult unless you are like delusional enough to accept the position you're in as anything more than like the randomness of who is born to who. It's very difficult to feel like you've made or earned anything yourself. If you are just born into billions, you see that's one of the reasons these people have to like make their mark on the world to prove that they're not just like some accident. Because within those families sometimes, and like, look, I'm not acting like I know billionaires. I know millionaires. And it's a little similar, but at the same time, there are some millionaires that are barely millionaires, so they still acting like they're middle class. Even though they're millionaires, it's actually pretty sad. And then there are people that are like multimillionaires, and I don't even really know that many multimillionaires, but I know those people have at least accepted their position as people with like wealth and privilege, right? I don't know any billionaires. But I do know the people that I am friends with that work with like truly insane net worth individuals have said things like, at a certain amount of money, it's not even money anymore. It's just you moving your will throughout the world. And that is how people with that much money think. And so if you are like a child born into this thing, especially if you don't take to it the way that we imagine people will take to it, because remember, a person is a whole person, but a lot of people will have a kid and have an idea of a child before the child is ever there. And then that idea of a child is exactly what this whole person has to be, or else they're a disappointment, or else they're a failure, right? I had the idea of you before you were ever here. And the idea of you that I had was, we play these sports together. I teach you to do this thing. We go to these things. You love the stuff that I love. Those are the hopes of like every parent. Every parent wants to share the things that they love with their kid, and hopefully the kid loves them too. Because as much as you love your sports team, as much as you love your favorite hobby, it'd be so much more enjoyable if the person you love the most loved it too. A lot of people have those hopes. That's common, that's normal. But this like world of wealth, they have an idea of maybe building a legacy, building an empire, and now whoever comes, whatever this child is, they will be someone who can uphold, build up, maintain the empire that I built. They're not having like a child, they're having a vessel to continue their wealth into the future. And that's got to be difficult to grow up in, because yes, you have all this money, you have all this privilege, you have access to all these different things, but there's a person looking at you like you don't even deserve to be here. And then there's everybody else that if you tried to tell them how it felt, they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't hear you through all that money. You know? Cry me a river. You ever felt a penny before? And so you see people really trying to exercise out all of this trauma in a way where they still move their will throughout the world. So then we become the collateral damage of them trying to exorcise demons because they have the access to change the world the way that they see fit. And that leaves us in a very dangerous position. And I don't know exactly how to fix that, what to do about that, but I do know it presents itself in like little moments. Small moments where you can see, oh, this is like a kid. This is like a hurt kid. You know? Most powerful man in the world. Incredibly rich, billionaire. But this is a kid. This is a scared kid. This is a hurt kid. This is an angry kid. And I'm not saying that takes away all the damage, all the things that are being created by what this kid is doing. But like, I see you differently now. Like, in theory, I should be scared of you. I should be worried about what your next move is going to be. I should be worried if you're going to send someone to hurt me or my family, because you could do that. You're a very powerful person. But then things happen. And I see you react like a kid. And it's weird to see you as a whole person, you know? Like, I'm not going to, how do I put this? I could tell Trump was hurt by that South Park episode because the White House released a statement. There are school shootings where the White House doesn't release a statement. The White House released a statement. They were like, hey, look, South Park hadn't been relevant for a while now anyway. Nobody even watched. Ain't nobody crying. Nobody hurt. You know? Like, I've watched I watched Trump go to the Fed. He went to the Fed and he was with Jerome Powell. Now, Donald Trump put Jerome Powell in that position, all right? Donald Trump made Jerome Powell Fed chair, right? And now Donald Trump can't stand Jerome Powell and doesn't know who appointed him. And so he goes to the Fed. I guess they showing him where they make the money, shred the money. I don't know why he needed to go. He goes on a field trip to the Fed. You know, this is a very funny thing about Donald Trump. He has been very rich his entire life, but he still acts like new money. I have expected Trump to see the money being printed in front of him and go, but this dude he's at the Fed with Jerome Powell, and look, you can say numbers. You can say numbers in whatever order you want. No, you can say numbers and he can say more numbers. You can say numbers, that's your right to say numbers however you see fit. Whatever numbers you like, you can say them in 4, 3, 3, 4. You can do whatever you want. Numbers are there for you to play with. Numbers serve at your pleasure, right? Say whatever numbers you want in whatever order you want, whenever you want. That will not make it math. And so Trump is talking to the media, and he just like throwing out numbers. He's saying numbers, right? He's, numbers, good numbers, and some bad numbers. Let's get those bad numbers out of there. Good numbers, more numbers, extra numbers, right? And quickly, almost immediately, Jerome Powell is standing off to the side, and he goes, oh, Jerome Powell was shaking his head. You know those people who got like perfect pitch? Jerome Powell was shaking his head like somebody with perfect pitch going to karaoke. Like it's And look, this is not something that happens often. No, Trump's used to talking, and when he talks, people either nod or they stay quiet. And we saw this in spectacular fashion in like 2020. Because he would stand up there, and then the people next to him, the people behind him, sometimes you catch them being like, huh? Like they were still trying to process what he said. But then he would just be talking. And sometimes he'd even turn to them, look for some confirmation. What do you think about that? And then they would be like, we'll have to check. I've never had the taste of bleach in my mouth, but... I suppose anything's possible. These experts, these doctors, these people, they weren't doing the thing that they should have been doing, which was because he didn't just shake his head. He said it. He said it out loud. No, 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 no. Maybe we wouldn't be in this position if more people, and I'm not even talking about politicians right now, I mean more people who have to deal with government had the courage to say, no, no, that's not how medicine works, no, that's not science, no, that's not English, no, no. A simple no is powerful, you know? And so sure enough, Trump hates Jerome Powell. Trump hates Jerome. Oh, he hates Jerome. Oh. Trump hates Jerome. Trump hates Jerome Powell. Like, let Jerome. Trump hates Jerome Powell, so he hate him so good. Trump hates Jerome Powell so much, he did something he never does. He did something we haven't seen him do. Either time he's been president, he did something I didn't even think he was capable to do. Trump hates Jerome Powell so much. Through his teeth, he hate him. He hate him so much that Donald Trump did homework. Because he was saying the numbers, and he was saying the numbers, and he was saying the numbers, he was saying the numbers. And then Jerome Powell went, no. And even Tim Scott was next to Trump, nodding and saying yes, while he was saying no. Yes, with those big teeth, saying yes, swinging those teeth, yes. But Donald Trump heard Jerome Powell's no, and it was almost like he had practiced this. He was ready. He hates Jerome Powell so much. Ooh, he hates him. And so he goes, huh? What? No. Oh, well, I have the paper right here. And then Donald Trump pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to Jerome Powell like it was checkmate. I had never seen this man prepared in his life. Usually, when Trump has a chart or a piece of paper, it's because he already has a point he's trying to make and he's just using that to illustrate. Trump has never had a Trump card. This man pulled out the piece of paper. You could see even Jerome was surprised. He was like, paper? Reading? You saw Jerome. Jerome had to break out the glasses for it. He was like, oh. And because numbers are numbers, because math is at least something that, even if you have bias, even if you have an intention towards an intended goal, the math will still make sense or not make sense. Something will be true or not true, right? And so even Jerome Powell, I'm not saying I know this man, I'm not saying he's infallible, but in this moment I'm thinking maybe he's even thinking, whoa, what if I'm wrong here? What if there's something I don't know about? The president just pulled a piece of paper out as soon as I started saying no, like he rehearsed this. So he takes the piece of paper, throws the glasses on, and you can see him reading it. You can watch the clip. And he goes, no, this old, no.
You ready for your headliner? Yeah. I want y'all to put your hands together for Josh Johnson.
A while back, I got invited to a friend's house, and he had cooked for me and some of his other friends. And when I say cooked, I mean like he went all out. You know, it was about 6 of us all together, right? But this is like multi-course, 5 hours of preparation, been cooking all day type thing. So by the time we get there, there's a whole spread across the table. There's stuff that he's pulling out of the oven. And we were touched that our friend wanted to do this for us, right? Took his own money, used the skills that he had to make good food, to have a good experience, have a good meal with us, right? And so, you know, we sit down and we sort of like half plated already, you know, when we sit down. And as soon as we get ready to eat, I guess he didn't pay his light bill because as soon as we get ready to leave, the lights go out, right? And we were, when I say we were ready to eat, I'm talking about napkin in and everything, chair all brought up and stuff, and then the lights pop off, right? And then he doesn't mention it at all, right? I'm scooping my chair up and the lights go out, and he doesn't even go, oh, like nothing. He just, y'all, let's eat. And it is pitch black, okay? And in my head, I'm like, why? How often does this happen that you're not gonna say anything at all? Not acknowledge it one bit. And so then, like, I'm sitting in the dark and I'm looking around. I can't see anybody, but I'm looking around. You know the way you try to meet eyes when something wild happens and everything. And then after like a couple seconds, he was like, wait. I'm waiting to hear why. Maybe it's a breaker issue. Maybe it's just, you know, the block or something like that. And he's like, wait. Let's say grace. To be fair, when I say grace, I bow my head and close my eyes anyway, but it's different when the darkness is not your choice, right? There's something about saying grace in the dark that's genuinely menacing, okay? Because it's a prayer over your meal, but if it's pitch black and you hear somebody else go, Lord, please bless this food for the nourishment of our bodies. You're like, this one doesn't sound right. I don't like that. And it must happen a lot because not only does he not address it, but he is going with his fork and knife, and he's the only one out of us that's got any rhythm going with the plate, okay? Because he chose the right friends to do this in front of, because he doesn't mention it, so we don't want to mention it because we don't want to feel rude, you know? We out here treating broke like a country, like I wouldn't want to offend his culture, you know what I'm saying? Like, if eating in the darkest part of his customs, let's go ahead and acquiesce. And so we're all in the dark, and I could have sworn I knew how to use a fork and knife. I was positive, because I've been doing it my entire life. But it's not until you're in the dark that you realize, at least me, I have no idea where my mouth is. Because we already had some peas and carrots and some mashed potatoes on the plate, right? But like I said, this is all like Thanksgiving style and everything, all family style. So a lot of the dishes are in other containers on the table. So I'm just trying to start with what I have. So then I go to scoop up some mashed potatoes, and then I stab myself in the cheek, right? So and he had done a good job with the mashed potatoes because they were nice and buttery, which meant I couldn't tell if I was bleeding or not, because it was just, because I had hit it hard. I got two prongs in the mouth and 2 prongs on the cheek, but I'm like, that got me good. I need to slow down, right? Because you're not really thinking about how fast your hand is moving when you try to eat. So then I'm like, let me go ahead and attack the peas. But the peas, I can't find my spoon, right? So the peas are gonna have to go with this fork, and they are slipping. I'm imagining they're going right off the plate. And so I'm trying to stab for some peas, but everybody can hear me just clinking, just hitting plate, right? And finally I feel a little thunk. That's a carrot. So then I lift up slowly, I bite a carrot. It's hard because he didn't actually cook everything well, just the mashed potatoes. So now I'm eating bad food in the dark, right? Because every time I do get a bite of something, the food is still hot because he did a good job of plating, right? So there was a little bit of chicken, little chicken thigh that was already on the plate and stuff. So I cut that up a little bit, put the chicken in my mouth. But now I didn't realize how hot it would be because I couldn't see steam, right? So now I have burned my tongue in the moment, and I'm doing that. And I'm not the only one, because he is the only one hitting any of this with rhythm. Yeah, I mean, like his fork, you can tell his fork slicing where it's supposed to slice, that he's scooping where he's supposed to scoop and everything. And everybody else, I'm assuming, is just making noise, because there are some, I don't hear any chewing. So I feel like the person next to me was just like, because the meat was tough, right? And so then, like I said, it was like Thanksgiving family style and stuff. So then our host pops up and is like, I forgot some of the cranberry sauce. Let me go up and get it. And for as adept, okay, he gets up and all we hear is, ow. I'm back. And so I know that I'm making an attempt to eat. I'm doing my best, right? But then apparently someone else is, because from the other side of the table, I can hear someone, because once again, it's family style. I hear somebody, hey, sheepishly, hey, you don't need to whisper, it's just dark. Hey, real quick, okay. Sorry. Can somebody pass the green beans? And so then the person who thought they had the green beans starts feeling for the container, right? So now we hear them plopping along the table and everything. And then they finally grab it, and then they from over here, who wanted it again? And instead just saying their name, they're like, over here. So then we had to get the green beans across the table, Marco Polo style. And I could feel people passing it past me, but I didn't want to be involved, right? I didn't want to have anything to do with this whatsoever. And so then I can see, no, I can't see anything, but like, I can tell that the person to my left is trying to reach for it from the person from my right. And so I'm like, I don't need to help, I just need to lean back. But because they can't see, they lean forward and just grab my face. And then they're like, is this it? I'm like, no, it's not. And so I push their hand forward. They actually grab, I'm assuming, the casserole platter. And then I think they dropped it a little bit because then I feel a hot splash, right? So I get a hot splash, boom, right on the face. And I'm just like, oh. They get the green beans over to that side of the table. Turns out it was yams, okay? So, and when you go to take what you think is gonna be green beans and it's yams, it's a texture you'll never forget, right? No one was ready. And so once I get like hot splash, because it was whatever it was, it burned a little. I was ready to go, and it had been some time, you know what I mean? Like, most meals only take, 15, 20 minutes to really eat until you get full anyway, and it had been however long it had been, I don't know. And so I'm ready to go, but I don't want to be the first one. So then I'm not good at it, but I try to throw my voice. A little bit like, well, this has been so great, And obviously everybody felt the same way, because then as soon as I scoop my chair to get back, everybody else get ready to get up, right? And so we all start getting up and we thank him for cooking and everything. And then we feel our way for the door. And as soon as we open the door, a bunch of hallway light spills in. I'm like, why didn't we just... This was wholly unnecessary. And so I go to leave, and as I'm leaving, I pass a mirror in his lobby, which is the first look I get of my face. I haven't looked like this after I've eaten since I was a baby, all right? Because I got mashed potatoes here. I knew about those, right? But then I got a little bit of like chicken right here, just a couple of strands of chicken. And then this was gravy. So I got splashed with hot gravy coming down my face. That's why I vet people now. Like now when people offer to have me over and cook, I ask some of their friends, I'm like, hey, have you been over there before? Are they a good cook? Do the lights stay on? Things that you just need to know before you go. You know it's a really, really beautiful thing? Black women are having an incredible summer. This is phenomenal, right? Like just in the Olympics, Lauren Scruggs is the first black woman to win an individual medal in fencing. And not only do I just love seeing black people succeed, I love seeing black people succeed at stuff I didn't know we did. So if you don't know what fencing is, because I didn't know. It's basically when people cosplay Bridgerton, all right? Okay, so it's a mix of stuff. So like, when people go in a padded cell, right? They do that, but they wear the cell, okay? So they go ahead and wrap themselves in like a padded cell and stuff, and then they get that stance, right? They get that long stance, and then they got their little sword. It's thin, and then they sort of try to musketeers each other until one of them get the most points, right? I still haven't figured out why they always do it. To me, it would just make more sense to have it and be like, ah! Like that seems like you really get some points just really coming at somebody, right? And I thought, as I thought about it more and as I learned more about the sport, which I still don't know very much, I thought to myself, man, I probably could have been pretty good at fencing if I had applied myself, because I grew up in the South with black grandma. So I'm used to the sound of... Because my grandma and I had this thing, right? Like if I was really acting up, if I was bad enough, right? She would tell me, go outside. There's a dead bush, and go ahead and pick your switch. And if you don't know what picking a switch is, if you were born after Child Protective Services, picking your switch was a form, after you've been acting up and go out there and pick your switch, it was a form of psychological torture, because you would get out there and then you trying to pick the switch most likely to break. Because you're like, all right, let me see. I'll let her get 3 good licks in, but then it'll snap and she'll be like, let bygones be bygones, right? And so you go out there, and I would go out there, I'd be testing them. I'd be like, that one got too much bend to it. Let me guess. And so then you bring your switch back to your grandma, and then she go to pop it a couple times, and just out of reflex, you start, whoo, whoo. It's hot, right? I think if my grandma had whooped me just a few more times, I really could have been a medalist in fencing. Like, I could have been like... And then, Lauren is amazing, but you also have Simone Biles. The most decorated gymnast of all time. She won again today. I thought they were done. She won with the vault. A lot of people are amazed at how high, how elegantly, just the way that she moves through the air, the strength that she has, the grace in her movements and stuff like that. And some people are surprised at how high she can go and all that stuff. I'm not at all. I'm surprised that she comes back down to earth. Because I saw just a picture of her doing the vault, and when she flew, I was like, y'all, she gone. She going to space. Incredible. Like, Simone will get me so hyped up. I remember the first time I saw her. First time I ever saw her perform at all in one of her events. And I got so hyped, I tried to do a cartwheel. That's what I can't stand with people that are good at stuff. They make it look easy, and then you do it, and then you almost snap your whole spine. Because she did some routine where she was like, boom, 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 and she was just everywhere and nowhere at the same time. She was flying, she was coming down, and then she got done, and I was like, ooh, that's so cool. And then my back hit the wall. I just started sliding down. Even outside of Olympics, you got Kamala Harris. Joe Biden steps aside, Kamala takes up the mantle. She is a presidential candidate and everything. And, when she enters the race, she's actually polling slightly higher than Biden was, right? Really like giving Trump a run for his money to a certain degree. Like, she's polling a little bit higher. And then in the time since, she's been polling, ticking up and everything. And there's just been so many instances of like let's say she's on camera or something. This happened a few days ago. She was walking up the stairs already. An improvement, right? She was walking up the stairs to the plane that was waiting for her, and a reporter yelled, right? A reporter was like, oh, I'm like trying to answer, get her to answer a question. And she turned, because she heard him, she turned. She turned because she heard him, right? And then he's like, have you picked a VP yet? And she went, no, not yet. And then she keeps walking up. Now, this may not be a big deal to some, but if you are a Democrat, it's a lot more multitasking than we've been used to in a long time. She can walk, she can hear, and she can talk at the same time. That's wild. I'm not saying it's new, but it's been a minute. And just when it felt like her campaign couldn't get any more momentum, Trump went to the National Association of Black Journalists. And I want to say something real quick, and I really want you to hear me when I say this, all right? For real. Please, right? Please hear me when I say this. I think that it's important, no matter who you are, because other countries are better at doing this than we are sometimes. No matter who you are, I think it's important for someone to go where most people oppose them and express their ideas. I think it's important because it's important for us to have discussions that are real. A discussion where the person who believes the thing said the thing to you and you're not hearing it secondhand from someone you already agree with. Part of why we are the way we are right now is that people don't really want to listen to someone that they are diametrically opposed to. They want to hear from someone they already like, but someone you already like tends to believe what you believe. So then we're playing telephone with each other's ideas sometimes, right? And so I do think that it was good what he did. He went to a place where he was not gonna be lauded over, was not gonna be like babied with what he's trying to say. He went to a place where he was opposed. I think it's good what he did. He just shouldn't have done this. Do you see what I mean? You know what I mean? Because he went to the National Association of Black Journalists, and this is my thing. A lot of people didn't really talk about this, but they were opposed within the group if he should come or not. There were some people that were like, we shouldn't platform him. I can't believe y'all are even inviting him. And there were other people that said, hey, look, this is a presidential candidate. We need to hear out whatever it is he has to say because he could potentially become the president. So you had both those ideas bouncing back off of each other, bumping heads. And then you had me. I was in a very particular camp, which was let them cook. Because, this dude rolls up and pretty early on, I say first 3 minutes, this dude said she was Indian and then one day she just turned black. He said, turned black. And I was like, Donnie, what else you got? That's a little while later, he hit it. He hit it. I didn't know if it would come up again. I've been waiting. He hit it. He was like, the immigrants are coming and they are taking the black jobs. I've been wondering what a black job was since the debate, because he said at the debate and nobody called him on it. Nobody caught it or anything. Black jobs. And then one of the women up there, because it was 3 women interviewing him. 3 black journalists were interviewing him. And one was like, sir, what is a black job? And then he was like, a job anybody could have. You know, and look, I don't know Kamala. I don't know anybody on her campaign or anything, but I know that they had to be watching. They had to be watching that the way that we watch Powerball. Just sitting there like, say turn black again. Say turn black, say turn black. One more time, please, please, please. Turn black, turn black. I'll be happy with a Negro. Can we get a Negro? Turn black or Negro, please.